Hi everyone, let's literally jump right in. So some of you have been mentioning that the archimesh elements are not working properly in Blender 5. Yeah, it's actually true. If you add a door, let's add also a window. Move this to the right. I'm gonna just delete the human. It used to be before Blender 5 that you could select the frame of the door and it would expose the parameters of the door here. So the size, the depth, the type of door, the type of handle, all of those things. It doesn't seem to be happening anymore. I don't know how this is programmed in the backend, so I don't know how to fix it. But it is true that it's not showing. Same thing with the window. You cannot change the size here. You could change the size using the empty and making everything bigger. The thing is that it just scales it. It doesn't dynamically calculate the dimensions, so the frames are now huge. So let's delete everything in the scene and use my add-on. I created this so that we could continue using the process that I've shown in the videos. The idea is that we just replace the door and the window because that's what we use. So I'm just gonna add a cube here. I'm gonna delete top face, only face, and I'm gonna move it up a meter. So, and I'm gonna put the origin in the bottom so that I can scale it, staying on the actual floor. So let's just scale it a little bit, and I'm gonna apply the scale, add a modifier, solidify, and add the thickness 15 centimeters. So this is the very general process that I've shown in the videos. Once you have the walls, the next step is to add the windows and the doors, and then cut the holes into the geometry so that you can actually see through them. So this workflow goes from top to bottom. You don't really have to remember anything, it just flows. Oh, by the way, it will add the elements where the cursor is, so shift and right click changes the position of the cursor. So let's say we want a window there. Let's say that we want a door here. We have this door to floor level. If we have it on, it will add the door at that position, but anchor it to the floor. So if we add the door here, it places it in the correct position. If we don't have this on, and let's say we place the door here, it would place the door in that position. So we don't want that. I'm just going to delete it. And let's just add another window here just for good measure. You'll see that it's always aligned to the x-axis. So if you want to rotate it, you can just do it as any other element, RZ, and let's say minus 90. So I'm just going to move it a little bit in X so that it's actually inside the wall. Same thing with this, GY, and with the door, GY. So everything is inside the actual wall. The next step is we just follow this from top to bottom. We can change the cutter controls. The depth is how deep the cutter is so that it can clear your walls. If you have thicker walls, you would change this to a bigger number. Note that this is in meters. So 0.4 would be 40 centimeters. And the margin is how much space you want to leave between the actual geometry of the doors or windows and the walls. 0 is normal, but if you ever want to leave a little bit of gap, you can do it here. Let's continue. Then the next step is to calculate the cutters. So we just click here and you'll see that it adds cutters for every element. It checks for DB door and DB win. So just make sure that you don't change the names. So we have the cutters now. Let me show you a couple of things. First, they are parented to the object. So if I move the door, the cutter will move with it. The second thing is that if I resize the door, they don't resize automatically. This is by design, since it's two separate objects and makes the computer slower. So I just decided not to do it. If you scale this, the way to fix the cutters is just to sync them again. Just click the button. So we can move this back here. And same with Z, it doesn't update automatically, but it's very easy to fix it by just clicking the button again. Once that's done, we go to the next part, which is apply the Boolean to select it. So you need to select the walls or the object that you want the cutters to actually cut into, and then you just click the button. You'll see that if we go to modifiers, it's added a Boolean modifier. It's called DB holes, set to difference, and it uses the collection that we created, which is DB cutters. All of the cutters are in this collection. One more thing, and this is kind of important. If you by chance select this collection and then just continue to work and then add a mesh, you add a monkey, and let's say that you add a gear. So I'm gonna move the gear over here. So if you continue to work and don't notice, everything is going to be added to this collection, and you might not even be aware of that. And then when you add the modifier, since these geometries are complicated, it will crash the scene. We have a failsafe that if you ever have objects that are not cutters within this collection, let me go here to the modifiers, you'll even see that the modifier lets you know that there is a problem, non-manifold inputs. Specifically, it's this gear. If you select the walls and apply the Booleans to select it, you'll see that it kicks out the gear and Suzanne from the collection. It just bumps it to the main collection. So that's just for peace of mind. We delete the monkey, we delete the gear, and that's it. Let's add a camera. And I actually added by mistake the camera to the cutter. So this does happen. Let me just apply the Boolean again. One more thing, if you already have the modifier applied to the walls, it doesn't matter if you click it again. You won't add the modifier more than once if you continue to click. So now let's give this a quick render, and you'll see that everything is applied. The windows are now, you can see through them, the door's open, and you can see through the opening. And the last thing is, let's say that you want to delete this window. Now you also need to delete the cutter. So you can either delete it and it works, or let me just add another window to show you, calculate the cutters. Now, or you can delete the element, and if you have several orphan cutters on your scene, you can just delete all of them and calculate them again. This way you will only have the cutters for the existing elements, and everything else will just, be deleted. So this is on Gumroad. I'm gonna leave it for, I don't know, $3.99, and I'm also gonna leave it in the starter kit. So if you already purchased it, you can just go ahead and download it for no extra cost. Just to show you how to set it up, you would go to Preferences. I want to uninstall it so that I can show you what you would do. You would go here, click on this arrow, install from disk, then go to whatever you saved your file and double click on it. Done, you have it now. Then you need to select where the actual assets are. That's a separate file that you can also download. The file is called DB Assets, so you just double click on that. Now you have it here. And that's it. You just need to do that once. You can change the depth and margin here or here. It will be saved on your preferences. That's it. Any questions, let me know, and I'll see you on the next video.